Chapter 39. I become as poetic as, like, a poetic person. Despite Scotty's promise, I did not sleep peacefully. The coldness of the chamber and the constant booming didn't help, nor did the knowledge that in the morning Scotty was apparently going to fit us with skis and throw us out of a window. Also, I kept thinking about Alex Fierro. Maybe just a little? Alex was a force of nature, like the snow thunder. She struck when she felt like it, depending on temperature differentials and storm patterns I couldn't possibly predict. She shook my foundations in a way that was powerful, but also weirdly soft and constrained, veiled in blizzard. I couldn't assign any motives to her. She just did what she wanted. At least, that's how it felt to me. I stared at the ceiling for a long time. Finally, I got out of bed, used the wash bin, and changed into new wool clothes, white and gray, the colors of snow and ice. My runestone pendant hung cold and heavy on my neck, like Jack was catching some winks. I gathered a few supplies, then wandered into the corridors of Thunderhome, hoping I didn't get killed by a startled servant or a random arrow. In the great hall, I found Sam at prayer. Jack hummed against my collarbone, informing me in a sleepy, irritated tone that it was 4 in the morning, Niflheim Standard Time. Sam had faced her prayer rug towards the huge open window. I guess the blur of white outside made a good blanket screen to stare at while you meditated on God or whatever. I waited until she finished. I'd come to recognize her routine by now. A moment of silence at the end, a sort of peaceful setting that even the thunder couldn't disturb. When she turned and smiled. "Good morning," she said. "Hey, you're up early." I realized that was a stupid thing to say to a Muslim. If you're observant, you never slept late, because you have to be up for prayers before first light. Being around Sam, I'd started to pay more attention to the timing of dawn and dusk, even when we were in other worlds. "I didn't sleep much," she said. "I figured I would get in a good meal or two." She patted her stomach. "How do you know prayer time's in Jotunheim?" I asked. "Or where Mecca is?" "Heh, I take my best guess. That's allowed. It's the intention that counts." I wondered if the same would be true of my coming challenge. Maybe Loki would say, "Well, Magnus, you're really sucked at flighting, but you did your best, and it's the intention that counts, so you win." "Hey!" Sam's voice jarred me out of my thoughts. "You'll do fine." "You're awfully calm," I noted, "considering, today's the day." Sam adjusted her hijab, which was still white to match her outfit. "Last night was the 27th night of Ramadan. Traditionally, that's the night of power." I waited. "Is that when you get supercharged?" She laughed. "Sort of. It commemorates that Muhammad received the first revelation from the angel Gabriel. Nobody knows exactly which night it is, but it's the holiest of the year." "Wait, it's your holiest night and you don't know when it is?" Sam shrugged. "Most people go with the 27th, but yeah, it's one of the nights of the last 10 days of Ramadan. Not knowing keeps you on your toes. Anyway, last night it just felt right. I stayed up praying and thinking, and I just felt confirmed. Like there is something bigger than all this. Loki, Ragnarok, the ship of the dead. My dad may have power over me because he's my dad, but it's not the biggest power. Allahu Akbar." I knew the term, but I'd never heard Sam use it before. I'll admit it gave me an instinctive jolt in the gut. The news media loved to talk about how terrorists would say that right before they did something horrible and blow people up. I wasn't going to mention that to Sam. I imagined she was painfully aware. She couldn't walk the streets of Boston in her hijab most days without somebody screaming at her to go back home. And, if she was in a bad mood, she'd scream back, "I'm from Dorchester!" "Yeah," I said. "That means God is great, right?" Sam shook her head. "It's a slightly inaccurate translation. It means God is greater." "Then what?" "Everything. The whole point of saying it is to remind yourself that God is greater than whatever you are facing. Your fears, your problems, your thirst, your hunger, your anger. Even your issues with your parents, like Loki. She shook her head. Sorry, that must have sounded really hotkey to an atheist.